Okay, I've prepared this interactive PowerPoint study guide for the 102 final. The 102 final is not difficult, but I did want to model some of the questions you will receive. And I also wanted to focus the study guide on the areas that will appear on your final exam so you can really make productive use of your study time. Okay, so much of the material on the final will involve the vocabulary and the information that was in Chapter 10. We did not have a Chapter 10 test. We did have a Zoom lecture, but I wanted to focus in on what you will see on your final. So you will see questions related to the comunicación section of Chapter 10. And so in Chapter 10, you have in comunicación, and you can go back and look at this, different types of conversations that might occur in a professional setting. If you're going into a business or you're calling into a business, what type of, how might the conversation flow? Okay, so please look at the comunicación section. In one case, you will have to, you will be given lines from a professional conversation, a conversation between a receptionist and someone who comes into a business office and who asks to see the owner. And you're going to have to order it. So, it might start off, "Hi, how are you?" or "How can I help you?" Please just get comfortable with this. It's very simple. Just take your time. How would you order the lines of that conversation? You've seen questions like this in prior units. The next question, there'll be another comunicación section, and you're going to have to listen to a telephone message. And again, Chapter 10 has a section on answering the telephone and on a telephone message. And during this telephone message, certain things will be stated, facts, names, numbers, and you are going to be asked to fill in the blank there with the appropriate information. Okay, so in one, you're going to be ordering lines of conversation and responses that they give you. And in the second case, on the telephone message, you're going to be listening to it and answering the questions by filling in the blanks with whatever information they want. It's a short answer. Okay? Okay. Continuing with Chapter 10, communication. There is a section on making introductions. Okay? So how do you introduce somebody? And so what they're really looking for here is which form of you are you going to be using? Are you going to, is it an informal introduction where you're introducing friend and family to friend and family, or a fellow student to a fellow student? So you would use the to form of you. Is it a formal introduction, which in many cases in a professional setting it would be? You're introducing somebody to your boss, or Mr. So-and-so to Mrs. So-and-so, where the people don't know each other. So you would use the usted form. Or you might be making an introduction with the plural you. Okay, I'm introducing to you all in the class my my friend. So which you will you be choosing? So just be careful when you answer this question. It's very simple, but so when you introduce somebody, you use the verb presentar. So you might, if it's an informal introduction to you, I want to present to you or introduce to you, and using the to form, it would be quiero presentarte. If it's a formal you, it's going to be quiero presentarle. I want to introduce you, usted, señor so-and-so, to my colleague at work. And finally, to you all would be les. So just be aware of that. In English, we really only use one you, and so sometimes this can be a little bit confusing. In terms of chapter 10, further, make sure you're familiar with the vocabulary. Various professions are established there, so you're going to have to match a profession with a description of the profession. Very simple. It's just matching what they already give you. All right. And then there's another matching exercise with the chapter 10 vocabulary. You're given different pieces of office equipment. And again, match the piece of equipment with its definition. So very simple. Continuing with chapter 10, we go to estructura. This will be on your exam. And these are the commands. Please make sure you understand these. They are explained well in your book. I explained them very well in the Zoom lecture. In Spanish, you have 4 forms of you. We're only going to be using 3 forms of you. We're not going to be using vosotros. But in English, when we give a command, we're giving a command to you, right? And so there's only one form for giving a command in English. Eat your breakfast, whether you're telling one person, or eat your breakfast, whether you're telling a whole group of people, whether it's a plural you or a singular you, you use the same form, but not in Spanish. In Spanish, we have the informal you, tú. We have the formal you, usted. And then we have the plural you, ustedes. Now, on your exam, they're going to only be testing the tú and usted form. So, how do I give a command using the usted command form? Well, I need to be able to conjugate the verb. And so in Spanish, we have AR, ER, and IR verbs. Again, how do we give usted commands? We get the stem of the verb. And if it's an AR verb, we're going to have E endings. And if it's an ER or IR verb, we're going to have A endings, okay? So the command form for usted does not work quite like just the present tense. The endings actually will be counterintuitive. And please look at these. So here we have the verb. So what you're supposed to do here, the verb is in parentheses. You're supposed to fill in the blank with the correct form of that verb, giving a command. So here we want to say, con el profesor, speak with the professor. How would we say that? Well, we've got to give the command form, the usted command form. So the stem will be habla, H-A-B-L, but it's not going to be an A ending. We're going to use the opposite, an E ending, and it becomes hable con el profesor, usted, okay? Next one, poner. So in this case, we have an ER ending, so we're going to have an A ending here because we're giving an usted command form. Now, poner is a highly irregular verb, okay? And so this one we just have to learn. And here the command form is derived from the yo form, the present yo form, which is yo pongo. And so how are we going to poner la televisión? Poner means to put or place or turn on. So we want to say turn on the television. So we are going to have an A ending here, and it's irregular on top of that. You must learn this. It's going to be ponga, ponga, okay? So for our commands with irregular yo verbs for usted, we're going to use that irregular yo form and just switch the ending. If it's an ER, IR verb will have an A ending, an AR verb will have an E ending. Let's look at the next one. El libro traer. Traer means to bring. Again, you want to tell somebody bring the book. Again, it's an ER verb, but so it will have an A ending. Again, it's an irregular yo verb. You just have to learn this. It's going to be traiga. Traiga el libro. And finally, comer. We have a simple ER verb, nothing irregular about it, and we want to put it in the usted command form. So it's going to have an A ending because it's an ER verb. So it's stem and ending. It's going to be coma la ensalada, eat the salad. Please look over the usted command forms, okay, and make sure that you can do them and you know some of the irregulars. Next one, we'll have informal to commands. So a lot of times you might want to give a friend or family member a command, okay? And so you're going to use the to command form. This is the easiest command form to make when you make an affirmative command, okay? All you do is give the el or ella conjugation of the verb, okay? So in number one, we want to fill in the blank with the correct command form conjugation of tomar. So the stem is tom, all right? And if I conjugated el ella, it would be toma, toma, okay? Look at the next one. And la ensalada, we have comer. So you want to tell somebody that you know in the to form, eat the salad. So the stem is com. It has an an er ending, so it's good. El come, ella come, so come. All right. So the conjugation you use for the to command form, the affirmative, is the el ella conjugation. Very straightforward, and you can look that up and review it. Okay. The next thing we have here is let me see. We have negative commands. Please look at this. This is in your book. The to command form, when it is negative, is totally different. Make sure you're familiar with this because you're going to have some negative to commands. So how do we form a negative to command? It forms sort of like the usted command form. If we have an AR verb, we're going to have E endings. If we have an IR, ER verb, we're going to have A endings. Okay? And the endings in this case will be either ES or AS because it's the to form. So just get familiar with these, get comfortable with them. So you want to tell some, it says con Mary. So you want to say, no, don't speak with Mary. So so it's going to be hables. The stem is hable, and I put an es ending on. Again, it's counterintuitive. I put the opposite ending on. Now, what about decir? This is going to be highly irregular, and partially it's, if we think of the yo form of the verb, it's an irregular yo verb. So it's going to be a variation of the irregular yo form. The verb decir again ends in an I, so it's going to have an A ending. And so we're going to have an AS ending. No digas eso. Don't say that. Don't say that. All right. Finally, we have another positive command now. Just these are positive to commands. Now, I told you that the positive to command forms, it's exactly the same as the el or ella form of the verb. Conjugation of the verb, present tense conjugation. But there are certain to command forms that are irregular and you must learn them. Again, just review these. So for decir, you just have to learn this. The to command form is going to be di la verdad, tell the truth. Okay. There's going to be some questions on chapter 6 concerning dining ware and utensils again. And so you should be familiar with these. You were tested on this already. And so just to bring this back to memory. So you're going to be given something like this. You're going to be given a food or a beverage. And then you're going to be asked to choose which item that you're given does not belong there. It has nothing to do with the food item or beverage. So in the first one, we have el pescado, fish. And now what are our selections? El cuchillo, a spoon, el tenedor, the fork, and then el vaso, the glass, okay, or cup. Now, you would use a knife with a fish if you were to eat it, so el cuchillo is fine. You would use a fork when you eat fish, but you're not going to use a glass. So, which one does not go there? It's el vaso. Look at the next question. The food beverage item is el té. That's tea. So let's look at the items that they pair with it. El cuchillo, again, a knife. La cuchara, a teaspoon. La taza, the cup. Okay. And so what would you not use for tea? Cuchillo. You're not going to be using a knife. And so that's all they want here. You're going to have some of these. These are very simple. And moving right along in Chapter 8 in the Comunicación section, again, you're going to have some questions on this vocabulary. You learned some adjectives for expressing when something is awesome. And so they give you a statement, and so they want you to say which response is not appropriate. So someone says, esta camisa me queda bien. This shirt fits me well. Well, que bárbaro. How awesome. How incredible. You would say that. Que chévere. The same thing. That's great. Que chévere. And then que pesado. No, you would never respond that way. That's like how boring, how obnoxious, que pesado. So that's a negative comment. You wouldn't make a negative comment to a positive statement. Now here's another kind of positive statement. Voy a graduarme. I'm going to graduate. So how would you respond? Or how would you not respond? So estupendo, that sounds good. Stupendous, you could respond that way. Pura vida, they use that in Costa Rica. Again, awesome, great. Or, and then que aburrido, how boring. You would never respond that way. So I just wanted you to see some of these questions. Please go to chapter 7, and they're going to give you various holidays and life celebrations and ask you to match them with their meanings. Very simple. And then from chapter 9, which we just completed a while back, they're going to ask you about the chapter 9 vocabulary. Basically, they're going to give you some vocabulary words and ask you to put down the one that doesn't belong with the others. And we've done many of these in the past. And so if you have a hotel, the passport, the lake, and the suitcase, the lake does not belong there. The other ones are kind of all related. They're all kind of travel documents or things you would do when you're traveling. The lake is just out there. It's not really doesn't belong there. Okay, the next one. El ascensor, we have an elevator. We have la recepción, right? We have el hotel. And then we have abordar el avión. So to board a plane. Well, that does not belong there. The other items, the reception, the elevator, the hotel, those are all parts of a hotel, but boarding a plane doesn't necessarily have anything to do with a plane. Now, there will be more questions on your exam. Again, you will do a few readings. Again, from chapter 10, there's a reading on Mexico's program where they taught learning via television back in the 60s. And that's right in your book. You can find that. That's there'll be that you'll read that and be asked a few questions on that. You may listen to there'll be a few more things to listen to, and you're going to answer some true and false questions, or maybe some short fill in the blanks. But overall, I think the exam is very straightforward and fairly easy. And with this PowerPoint, it should give you a pretty good idea of what you need to know.